Hi, I'm Jasmine and I'm so glad you're here today to paint along with me or simply to watch. Today I'm going to work on this hydrangea art card and I'm going to show you step by step how I do it. So please enjoy watching or painting along with me. I have here a hydrangea sketch that I've done. I actually have a set of hydrangea sketches that I did when I had an order from a client of watercolor cards. So I first sketched my hydrangea bunch on paper that was the size of my card so that I could reuse the sketch again instead of having to redo it. And that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to reuse this sketch by using this carbon paper. So I'm going to lay this paper down on top of my watercolor card. And then I'm going to line it up just right. And basically I'm going to use this little, I don't know what this is. It's a little metal point. I think this is ultimately useful to make edges for folding cards, the center of folding cards. But anyways, I'm going to use this as a drawing tool. What I need to do is be very careful to hold the paper down in one place while I do the entirety of this sketch, and it takes time. So I'll start out on real time and then I'll move it to time lapse. Basically, I am tracing the lines that I had before with not too strong of a touch, but also not too gentle of a touch. I can lift the paper to see what's underneath. And I can see there that my flower is beginning to emerge. Now I'll trace the edges of this leaf. Now, if you are not comfortable in sketching your own hydrangea bunch and want to do this painting, then ultimately you can trace any hydrangea bunch image that you can find and just alter it somewhat so that it becomes your own. It's best to take an image that is not copyrighted, that there's lots of different photographers that will allow artists to use their work. But for sketching these flowers, what I did is I received pictures from my client of her hydrangea bushes, and I used those to be able to sketch the different petals, the different placement of the petals. Some I have with 3 petals, some I have with 4 petals, etc. Okay, I'm gonna have a look. All right, that's quite dark, but that's okay. I can go back into it with an eraser later and lift off some of this. I'm going to put this into time lapse now. Okay, so here is the image. Looks like I've missed some parts here. It's tricky to know where you've traced and where you haven't. So I'm just reaching for a graphite pencil and I can easily just sketch in what I've missed. Or add an entirely new flower. Ultimately, it's just simply a little circle and then some petals around in various places. And in some spaces where there's just extra space, all I've done is add the impression of a little petal there. Hydrangea bunches tend to be big clusters, and so I have some facing upwards, some facing sideways, some straight frontal, and that adds to the creating a form. Okay, so now I'm going to get my gummy eraser, and I'm just going to lift off some of these dark areas because watercolor is transparent, and so I don't want all these dark lines to show. Good. That's better. Still quite dark in some areas, but that's okay. All right, now I'm going to prepare color for the watercolor painting. So I have here, I have a variety of brushes available to me here. Ultimately, I'm going to be using round brushes and of various sizes. So here I have a number 2 round brush, I have a liner brush, I have a number 4 round brush, and a 0. That's probably what I'll mostly be using, but I'll have, I do have other sizes available in case I want to reach for them. I also will be using paper towel, which I'm reaching for now, and I like to just fold it so it's quite absorbent. I have some water in a little container. And my colors I haven't prepared yet, but I'll show you where I'm going to pull them from. I have a little case here. Wrong way. And I'm just opening up my case. And I have lots of Winsor Newton watercolors. And I have them arranged by name here. I'm going to take paint from here and put it into this little ceramic dish. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll be back to you soon. Okay, so I am now going into my palette, and I'm just wetting my permanent rose, and I'm going to pull some of that paint over here into this little well. I am thinking that I'm going to create these hydrangeas and pink purples. And so I really like this permanent rose by Winsor Newton. It's really pretty. So I want to work with this. And I just have a little bit right now. I can always add more as I go along. And I have Quinacridone. Let's see, which one do I want to use? Actually, I have a Windsor Violet and a Quinacridone Violet here. And so this one's a little warmer than this one. I think I'm going to go for the Windsor Violet here. This is actually the cooler one. I think I got them mixed up on my palette. This is the Quinacridone Violet, and it is a cooler one, and that's okay. I'll use this. A lot of what I do when I create watercolor cards is I experiment. Okay, so I've got my purple and my pink, and I'm going to be creating some, I would like actually a little bit of blue. So I'm going to go into, I have a wide variety of blues here. I have cerulean, a cobalt, a French ultramarine, Prussian blue, cobalt teal blue, and a couple of turquoises. I feel that I often work with Prussian blue, so I'm always drawn to that. I'm going to go and use that. This is a kind of planning on the spot watercolor making and a going with the flow, because I don't actually have an idea in mind. I'm just going to play with colors with this. When I did this card before, this sketch on a card, I actually used reds and pinks. Okay, so next I need some greens. And I think what I'm going to do is reach for this permanent sap green. It's quite a warm green. I'll put that here. I can always cool it down by adding some Prussian blue to it if I want, or warm it up even more by adding some yellow. So I will add some cadmium yellow to this collection of colors. All right, there we go. Here's the colors I'll work with. Right, I'm just taking my number 2 brush, and I'm going to, it's been a while since I've done this type of hydrangea, so I'm just thinking about how I want to approach this. And I think what I'm going to do is just do wet on dry, and I think I will do a nice blue in the center and then add tips of the pink. A little bit of blue. Clean my brush and pull that out. As it turns out, this is going to be more of a blue hydrangeas than it will be purple. And I think I'll get a little bit of pink. Let's tap that in a few places. That will create the purple. Pretty. All right, let's do that here as well. Pull it out. And tap in a little bit of that pink again. Let it bleed out a bit. Encourage it to bleed out a little. Now this process is basically what I'm going to do for each and every flower petal. So I'll keep you on real time for a little while, and then I will again move into time lapse. So I find it peaceful and meditative, relaxing to do this. And it's also nice to experiment. I haven't actually done this for a while, and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to put you onto time lapse. All right, I have quite a few little flowers painted in. I'm going to work on a leaf now, just for something different. For the leaf, I have just a larger brush, a number 4 round, and I'm wanting to actually go to use maybe a bit of a darker green. And so I'm going to reach into my Cobalt deep green. And you can see that that's quite a bit cooler. Has more blue in it than green. Blue in it than yellow. And I want to use that for the area closer to the flower. I think I'll end up putting a petal here. So, one here. Okay. So I'm going to reach into this nice rich green. Just apply it right in here. And then I'm going to clean my brush, and my brush just has water on it. I'm just going to pull that out just with water. Let the color bleed out a little bit. And then I'm going to reach into this warmer green and apply that now. Clean my brush again, and let it come down there. There's a bit of variation in the greens. Blend them a bit together here. Good. And I think I'm going to even add a bit of this nice dark Prussian blue just right into here. Tap it in, giving more of a shadowy appearance. And maybe a little bit here and there on the leaf. Build some texture. Okay, there's one leaf. And maybe I'll do the same on this one over here. Again, I think I will add another petal right here and maybe a center of a flower there. Okay. And maybe rub a bit of the color off. I definitely went too dark. That's okay. Okay, same thing. I'm going to have it warmer here, all the way up, and then a bit cooler down here, as though there was a bit of sun hitting. So I'm reaching into that nice deep. It's actually called Cobalt, yeah, Cobalt Deep Green. And I'm going to put some around. I've got a nice wet brush full of pigment. Get some more. Okay. And then I'm going to, as I did before, clean my brush. My brush has just water in it. I'm going to pull that down, just the water. Go into the warmer green. This is Permanent Sap Green. It's really pretty. I like it. It's a nice green. There. And blend them a bit. Oops, well, that's all right. Went quite a distance, but makes it look like the leaf has turned in a bit on itself, and that's okay. I'll let it be. Pretty. I like it. It's got a shadowy feeling to it. I'm going to clean my brush off and dry it, and I'm going to run this down to lift off some of the color. Too late for there, but it's giving the impression of a vein down the center. There. Okay. Pretty. It's coming along. Now it's time to carry on with the flowers. Back into my blue. Flowers are a patient process, I'll say. To be patient, to work in all these little parts. I am a teacher, and I do watercolor cards because my time is limited, and I feel like it's a painting I can accomplish from beginning to end in a sitting. And people love getting original art cards. In the summers, when I have more time, I tend to paint with acrylics. When I have more time to do a larger canvas. But I found watercolors to be a relaxing medium. So I don't mind if something takes time, the little petals. I don't have to think much about it. I'm just putting in some blue here and there. I actually sell my cards to a local art store / cafe in the town I live in. And that's kind of special, knowing that people are buying them for whoever they're buying them for. I don't know where they end up, but wherever they go, they're blessing someone, and so it's lovely to know that my art gets to travel and spread a message of cheer. That's kind of my goal in doing art cards. I certainly don't make much doing them. If you're looking to, because I do original ones, I don't do, each one I do is original, but I'm okay with that. One day I might get into prints. I haven't really found a good source to print art cards yet that's reasonable, and that might be the next part of my journey. We'll see. I actually only recently started calling myself an artist. I always was calling myself an emergent artist. And I spent some time with a personal coach, and bless her heart, she helped me to see that I'm an artist now. And since having time with her, learning to see the areas where I limited myself and didn't believe enough in myself or have confidence, I've grown so much in painting, creating, getting my art out there, etc. Okay, I think it's time for time lapse again. Enough chitter chatter from me. Okay, so there is the little bouquet. It needs some centers for these flowers, and I think I'm going to do those in a yellow green. Typically, when I do hydrangeas, I work from a reference photo. And it's been a while since I did these. So these are perhaps more whimsical hydrangeas. They're not, I don't know that they look like any hydrangeas I've ever seen. They look like the hydrangeas I see in my mind while I'm painting. So hopefully you're okay with that. I still think they look pretty. All right, so now I'm going to add some shadows to the sides. That's quite dark. Lift that out a bit. There we go. Just add a little touch of shadow to each center. Just help it look a little more 3D. And now I'm getting my liner brush and I'm going to use that dark green mixed with there's some Prussian blue in this dark green. Uh-oh, my cat's coming up here. No, Ziggy. This isn't a good time. I'll show you him. Not a good time, Ziggy. Anytime's a good time for a cat. And he's certainly up for trying to get pets at sometimes the most inconvenient moments. He is currently trying to climb up my chair. Okay, come on up. Sometimes he sits on my lap while I paint. And that's what he wants. I'm just adding veins using my Cobalt green deep with a little bit of Prussian blue. Those ones were a little too dark, so I'm going to just tap them, lift off a bit. What I didn't talk to you about that I did with these flowers is where these little white lines are, I lifted off the paint. I basically had my wet pigment and I took a dry brush and I lifted off the wet pigment and I was left with some of these little white lines. Now this bouquet, this little bunch of hydrangeas seems to be quite a lot of white behind it. So I'm just going to fill in a few more blues. I've added a little bit of the purple to this blue here to create some darker value. And I just want to go in to some of these spots and just fill in a bit of blue here and there. Just to give the impression that there's actually some flowers behind these flowers, and maybe not in all the spots, but certainly fill in a few of them. And where I want my, just getting more Prussian blue in there, where I want people to really look, I'll create the darkest value. Draw the eye, maybe in this region right here. Oh, Ziggy, please don't come back up. Oh, okay. It's cat time. And that just sort of, adding that dark value behind makes the flowers pop forward more. Change it up a little so it's not all the same blue. Come in here as well. What I really could have done was create just a blue background and then build the flowers on top of that. That's definitely another way of doing this. I kind of don't mind this. It looks like there's this bunch right in the front area and then it breaks apart. On the time lapse when I was painting, I added some purple values down here as well. Feels like it needs just a couple of odd petals here and there in some of these spaces. I'll just come in and create some curves. Give the look of more flowers. That's looking better. Maybe one right here. This could go on and on and on. This area here is kind of just floating in space, so let's add a little something here. Good, that's much better. Makes more sense to me when I look at it now. I can hear my husband, he just came home. Okay, I want to pop out this even more so it has a nice deep value. I'm going to go in with some of this green. And that will be the first area where the viewer will look. What's going to happen is this, it'll become the focal point. Just to break it up a little bit, I'll add some more here and there. Pretty. Now I'm going to use this green to create a couple of cast shadows running out of it. Let's see here. Maybe one here on the leaf, one here, one here. And what I could do is go through all of this piece and add some cast shadows to give more depth. Get a bit of that purple, a bit of that blue on my brush. Not too much, but a bit, a deep value. And I'm going to, let's see here. We put a little shadow here. I do need a little more of the pigment. Okay, woo, it's very dark. Let's go into the purple. Oh, quite dark again. Just a bit between the two is what I want. There we go. Okay, and just add a little shadow in here. Add a little shadow here. A little shadow here. I've already got one here. Pop in a little shadow here. Maybe one in here. Separate these with some. I don't think I'm going to take the time to put cast shadows through the whole piece. It will take a long, long time. I'm going to let this be just a little more loose. A few of them. Okay. Now that is going to be good for today. Although I just have this thought, why don't I put a few highlights, this nice pure yellow, and touch a couple of spots. Particularly around my focal area. Maybe the edge of a leaf. Okay, I'm going to sign this and I'm going to splatter this. JR for Jasmine Rempel. And number 2 brush. Just getting that blue there. Really really water it down. Just going to cover the flowers and just tap a bit of blue. Why? I want to fill in a bit of this background space, create a bit of movement, and yellow as well. Get that nice and wet. Maybe a look of pollen in the air. I like that. All right, let's lift. I was just thinking that something that I do sometimes actually is get my liner brush with some darker color and just do a few, oops, no, I don't do that. And if I do, I lift it. Okay. So the idea is, let me just clean that off. The idea is to create a few extra details here and there on the flowers. That was quite a staining color there. And so what I'm going to do, I have a wet brush and going in here, just water. And then I'm going to tap my paper towel and just lift that again. Good, it creates a nice little highlight. There. Just let my brush dance here and there. Not too much, just a bit. Add an extra little touch. There. Okay, let's keep lifting. Blue, purple, pink hydrangeas. Fun and pretty. And a card for someone. Thanks so much for watching. If you're still with me, thanks for sticking through the whole time. I really hope you spend a little bit of time painting as well. And if you appreciated this, leave a like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Happy creating.